Now we are.
Now we're on air.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Waffle Time.
Welcome to the new location and hopefully slightly better quality.
It's slightly swanky here, isn't it? It's a bit, we've got upmarket.
Yeah. We're at my home.
We're at James's house, and you know we're kind of getting used to the new location, and it's all been a bit of a
rush. Hence the
bit of a rush, bit of a flap around. But we're here and we're back, and we've got some stuff to waffle about.
Yeah.
It's our favourite thing to do every week. Last week we started out with competition.
Yes.
And we had a bit of an Acuvance bonanza.
Yeah.
So this
slightly overdue bonanza, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, considering how long we've been running them and how much we actually rant about them in person.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of So you know, we're going to try and do more kind of feature things. So you know, if we did a bit on overdose, and you know, now we've done on Acuvance, and you know, we can. I think we'd need like 20 to do the MST range, but
we probably need five or six just to do the Acuvance range properly, to be honest.
Yeah. I mean, it's a glance over compared to what's actually out there.
Definitely.
But in effect, you know, we want to try and feature more of the products and try and give you more in-depth information about them.
Yeah, and be able to answer any questions that you guys have as well.
Exactly. So please, if you're online watching us to Tonkers, send in some messages. And we'll try and answer.
We'll do our best
at the end.
We'll do our best
in the waffle answers time. Okay, so Jay? What's the score with the wieners? I mean, the wieners.
Well, I'm very shortly going to be contacting the winner via YouTube, as we said last week. And when I say the winner, it's the winner of the main prize, which is the Touch-On area from Acuvance, along with the Luxon KG motor, a full Tau 2 setup, including the brain unit, and a motor jacket for the
and a stick sheet.
Sorry.
And a stick sheet. All important.
And probably some Haribo.
And more than likely some Haribo.
Are
we going to go nuts and throw in a boost, or?
We'll see. It depends on where it's got to go. It's got to go somewhere really hot, maybe not.
Do you know what I just considered? I wonder if international people know what a boost is.
We could probably blow some brain with even cream eggs, man.
Cream eggs.
Yeah. But but essentially what I'm going to do is contact someone via YouTube while we're on air this morning, and send them a message, and basically that person will need to reply to me, because obviously some people on YouTube don't use their real names, they have stupid aliases and stuff that they don't tell you who they are.
You shouldn't say they're stupid, they might be really proud of those.
Okay, they might be really amazing, but they might be really stupid. But we'll contact them, and we'll give them 48 hours to contact us back, and if they don't, we'll pick another winner. And then once we've picked the main winner and we've got their address and we've validated that they've also shared the post on Facebook, we will pick the other winners probably Monday and Tuesday.
So in effect, make sure you check your YouTube. Yeah. Otherwise, you'll miss out.
But if you're watching,
a very
on YouTube anyway,
prize.
then you get a message pop up. So it'll be very good. So I'll do that probably in a minute while Mitto's talking about his chassis.
We'll get onto that. So that's what's happening with the Acuvance stuff, and someone is gonna, in theory, win that today and take it away and be a happy bunny.
Yeah, maybe even if it's all going to be picked at random, just to clarify. But it could even be somebody who's going to compete this weekend and may have a sweet setup to compete with.
There you go. Could happen.
It could also be someone on the other side of the world. But
can I win?
No. I already won.
I only got one in there. That's just greedy.
Perks, man.
I have one. I have one.
No, you don't. You have two.
Shh. Don't spoil the illusion. So anyway, that's the Acuvance stuff. Let's get out of the way for a minute. I've got a handy thing over here. This is new. This is all new for me. You have to be careful not to break your glasses.
Or my flat.
My glass of juice.
Jeez.
Juice.
Right.
So, looking over there. We're gonna waffle about our chassis.
Yeah.
My chassis, for anyone that isn't aware, and actually looks quite dark in the picture, is an Overdose Deval, which I've been running since December. Basically, was that better?
Yeah.
Basically, it arrived just before we went on our little Japan excursion.
Yeah, it was pretty late, wasn't it?
And well, I basically put it together and we left. That was it. I got to run it once, I think, and then went to Japan and hoped for the best. But since then, I've had some chances to get some extra bits for it. A lot of them were kind of to hand because it was in Japan. I had a bit of a nightmare with I got the adjustable front arms. However, when we were out there, all the kits for the adjustable arms were completely sold out.
Yeah.
So I had to buy the arms,
version.
the bits, like I had to buy everything completely separately, which was a nightmare because I didn't really know like what size drive shafts were supposed to be in there and all that sort of thing. For anyone who's doing it that way and the annoying way, it's a 53mm drive shaft on the front, for reference.
It's just easier to buy the kit.
Yeah, it's just easier to buy the kit.
If you're going to do it and the kits are out of stock, my advice would be to wait until the kits are back in stock.
Yeah.
Because the amount of stress you had and the amount of parts you bought that were wrong and...
At least I've got spares.
Things that fit.
Aside from that, I also bought the KPI adjustable knuckles.
Yeah, they're pretty clever.
They're very clever. But recently, I've actually gone to the standard knuckle and changed my scrub radius by adjusting the height of the arm on the knuckle, which is proved to be quite interesting. It's made it more...
You mean roll center?
Oh, well, yeah, it's adjusting roll center, but it also just scrubbed, isn't it? So, but it's made it more rear-wheel drive, really.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. But the other thing I did was I was running a spice gear up in the front of the chassis, which is an aluminium gear, and I got to the point where that gear was worn out, didn't really check it, and then it just shredded itself.
It's a shame you haven't got that with you.
I've
never seen a gear like
that. I could put some aluminium dust on the table.
It was basically like two flat discs.
Yeah.
So the pinion gear had like a razor sharp row of teeth on the edge.
Yeah.
Where it basically got rid of all of the teeth apart from the tiniest little bit.
So you could basically see exactly which part of the gear was meshing.
Yeah.
Well, used to mesh, and now it disintegrated. But handily, I had another spice gear laying about to use. The reason for that is because actually I've got a little bit of float on the diff. Because originally, when I put the front gears in, a lot of information was coming out about Yokomo gears, the Yokomo underdrive gears for the drift package, fitting in these, which I thought, okay, these guys know what they're doing. I'll follow that advice and I'll get those gears. Don't do that. It's bloody awful. Literally, it creates a massive amount of binding in the chassis. There were a couple of guys we met who were running them, and it was like, why don't yours sound like that? And it's like, oh, we ran them for about 3 weeks until they sort of meshed themselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but literally...
We waited until they wore themselves to pieces.
Yeah. The chassis would barely move, to be fair. So, other stuff that I've done, of note, I've got the aluminium top mounts, which have got two points for roll center adjustment, because I've got your standard kind of shock positions, but there's double rows of them on front and rear. I'm running in the bottom range of the rows on the front and the top range of the rows in the rear. So the rear roll center is lower.
Yeah.
In theory. In practice, don't know. I might have done something else with but other bits of note, slide steering rack, which is amazing, and probably my favourite thing, which are the adjusting toe straps, which we've now determined do fit on.
They fit on a HT.
Well, anything HT based from MST.
They just need to be spaced up to match.
So what I did was I went
stupid.
I think the word is ape shit. Yeah. And I bought 4 of them, so I can adjust track width with that as well. In terms of actual settings, my rear track width is increased by 1mm, same on the front. However, that's inboard. However, on the front, I've also increased another 2mm on the actual arms themselves, which are adjustable in track width from the lower point of the arm. On the rear, the inboard toe is currently 1.5 degrees. On the front, I've set it at 3 degrees out. So I've got 3 degrees of front toe out. Inboard on the front arm.
You've killed some of that off, haven't you?
I was...
Doesn't look like 3 degrees toe out. Natural. So you killed it off on the
angle of the arm.
Oh no, I mean the actual Euro.
No. It's not. It's not actually considerably towed out. On the steering.
Well, I mean you've towed out inboard and then
on
pulled
the
it back
actual
in
arms,
outboard
and pull it back in with the toe on the actual steering. I've used Active Hobby track rod ends, I suppose.
You probably actually call them. Yeah,
they are track rod ends. They're all right. They've taken a couple of knocks now, and they're a bit baggy. So they're okay. They've got good clearance, but like I say, they don't take much.
What offset wheels are you running?
Now I'm running 7.
Okay.
7 mil. But I have a lot of camber on the front, and I don't know, maybe 3-4 degrees on the rear, something like that. It's not crazy amounts. I'm running a rear ball diff, and I'm running 1.5 CS currently. I'm also running an 88-2 spur with a, this is terrible, I've forgotten, 25-tooth pinion. So it's fairly placid. You got to really wind the boost up to get the power. I'm also running on my Acuvance motor. I've actually dropped the static timing. It's on a BS motor, so you can adjust the static timing.
Yeah.
I've dropped that down to 13 degrees from the stock 20, just to give it a bit more of a planted, weighty feeling to it. So actually the chassis now, I think when we kind of started this and we were getting into it, we were going response. And that's kind of response from the chassis itself in terms of, you know, I was tuning a lot for the camera and the dampers and everything to just give me what I needed instantly. Whereas the more I've done it and the, you know, the sort of more progression I make, the softer everything's becoming.
Yeah.
So now,
softer I think is the wrong word. It's more fine-tuned, so it is super responsive.
but it's
in
kind
the
of,
spot you need it to be,
yeah,
but not across the whole range.
exactly.
We're making it so it's
Placid almost.
yeah. It can be easy to drive, but when you need it to be super aggressive, it can be at the same time. It's something like you pick and choose when it happens.
Exactly. And that's, I mean, if you notice my damper angles at the front now, they're pretty much upright, and the rear is, you know, not far off upright. And we used to run for a while. I mean, it's not the same everywhere because we're specifically on carpet most of the time. And we used to all run really crazy damper angles. I mean, you know, almost horizontal sometimes. And I found myself going away from that. And allowing the chassis to move more, to roll and to pitch and kind of you almost get to the point with your throttle work and steering where you're deciding where the weight's going. Whereas prior to that, when you're still learning, you kind of throwing it and hoping the weight goes where you want it to go, and then adjusting to just account for that weight moving around. So, you know, for me, I've certainly toned my chassis down.
Yeah.
Don't know whether it's worth really mentioning like little tips that I've got for these things. One is the spider gears in the gearbox case, which I'm trying to get better light. We need a spotlight for this.
Yeah, we do. Well,
so we'll have a spotlight.
We're still refining this. Essentially, this wasn't our planned location for today.
Yeah, we changed it.
Turns out lighting at this time of the day where we were planning on doing it was awful.
But yeah, on the spider gears, I mean, I'm using Tamiya TRF fluorine coating.
Yeah.
And
they're the standard gears, aren't they?
They're the standard gears, but they are metal gears. And putting the fluorine coating in there, I don't know whether you can get it locally. I mean, Tamiya UK certainly don't do it.
No.
You know, I bought mine when I was out in Japan, but if you can get away with getting some shit to yourself, that is incredibly good stuff.
Well, there might be a manufacturer in the UK that does a similar product as well.
Yeah. I mean, we'll research that, and if we can offer something that's as good, you know, or better, then we'll certainly get into that.
I think that stuff, incidentally, would probably be pretty good for RMXs running the steel gears as well.
Exactly, yeah. Anything with steel gears meshing, I actually use that in the front diff as well on the aluminium gears, and it really cleans up the motion and it protects the gears and reduces the amount of wear. Other things are on the prop shaft, so on the outputs, because it's like a diff output on the prop basically. So on the outputs, I heat shrink those so that the prop gets less oscillation because it's got less room to move. And also I use a moly grease inside there. So not a black grease, which is technically got, you know, a black grease is slightly abrasive because it's making the faces, you know, of your drive shafts, which is why you use it in drive shaft. It's making the faces meet each other and operate in a smooth fashion. Whereas in the drive cups, you just want lubrication. So I'm using a moly grease in there. So I suppose it's something between a black grease and green slime. If
kind of. It's a very thin grease, isn't it?
Yeah,
effectively.
It's very thin, but it's tactile, so it stays in the outputs. And again, having the heat shrink over there stops that grease getting flung out everywhere. Makes a big difference. Really cleans up the motion. I use a little bit of it on the drive shaft outputs as well, but only on. I don't use it on the rear, on the plastic outputs, but I do use it on the front, on the metal outputs, and they are super handy. Other things of note. I don't know what to say. The other thing I have changed actually is the front arms. I've changed from the original overdose ball joints and changed them over to MST just because the MST are very, very strong and they're smaller, so I get more clearance. So I was catching on the balls. You know, like they're basically this very similar design to the MST two-piece ball ends. The ends. Yeah. So they can be quite wide on some chassis, depending on the offset, your wheels and scrub radius and things. So, you know, same thing with MST, I sometimes change those, and that makes a big difference. The other thing really is the funky overdose body posts, which I'm getting on really well with. I like those.
I actually still haven't fitted mine, but that's mostly because I haven't painted the body apart from this one since I've had them, and I'm saving my ones for a very specific body that I'm doing.
I do like that body. I do like it.
It's getting there.
Yeah, you've got to love a 180. There's nothing not to like about it.
So I need some finishing touches. Still got no mirrors and stuff on it, but it's getting there.
Indeed. I suppose I should mention my electrics as well. Probably. Oh yeah, that's a good point. So as I mentioned before, I'm running a Acuvance BS motor.
Yep.
The BS Dual, 10.5. I'm running the Tashion Area ESC. I am running it with a Tau 2 brain unit. So that thing is amazing because I'm pretty lazy and it needs out to plug it in. I'm running a Samurai M12 with a 472 receiver, I believe. 471.
Okay.
And I am running the RC OMG BF07, the full aluminium, all singing, all dancing.
Good job, I know the part numbers.
I was reading the part number, it says it right there, BF07. LP BF07. Is that right?
Yes.
It is. Yeah. All bang on. My receiver and my motor and my servo are now several months old. Not necessarily absolutely bang on.
Months old? Some of those are, well, your receiver is...
My receiver is well over a year, isn't it?
18 months or so, isn't it? Nearly 2 years.
That servo's taken some massive smashes and it still works. I crashed pretty good.
Especially in Japan.
And that was going pretty fast. And then the other new thing I've done recently is I fitted the Chevalier Master, which is, I mentioned before, it really cleaned things up. But man, I love that thing.
I need to get mine fitted. I haven't quite got around there yet.
Oh, the other thing I've done, which is kind of fun, is, can you see in there?
No, the closer you go, the harder it is to see. Because like a light.
It's hard to see. There you go. So in there, there's like a hole in the chassis.
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've put all my electrics into that hole and I've stuck a bit of plastic over it, just kind of really clean the look up so you can't see all the, like the red and white wires and all the messy bits that are always inside there.
Yeah.
Is that, I hate that. My OCD doesn't let me do that. It tells me off and makes me cry. So yeah, that's my chassis really. The next thing is the Overdose have got the new fancy prop.
Yeah, it should be with us very soon.
And I need some new diff cases because I've broken those. And actually, the CS gears are out now.
Yeah.
So I can get proper Overdose CS. And I can get rid of the spice gears and stop
chewing things up.
Yeah, it's like a milling machine with wheels.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, that's my chassis. Oh, and I use the fancy connectors. So I've got those.
Yeah.
I've got those connectors. So that means I can change motors very quickly.
Not that you do though.
Oh, and I've got a tail slider with Growworks thing. I know what tail slider is. I've got no idea what Growworks is.
Growworks, I think, is the full company.
You think?
I believe.
They're the machining company.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think we guessed upon this before. Yeah. So anyway, that's my chassis, and that's all my bits. Oh, you can see more. Got a Vertex spur gear holder.
I just spotted that as well.
So the Vertex spur gear holder for the Yokomo DRB, same one, will fit on a Overdose Duval, and works fine because I've been using it pretty much since the first week because I saw that and went, that's badass.
Yeah.
Have we got any other odd bits on it?
Your servo mount isn't standard, is it?
No, my servo mount is for a drift package, I believe.
Is it?
I don't know.
Isn't that the fancy vacular one?
It's either for a drift package or it's the fancy vacular one. I can't remember which way around.
You've had that since your Triple X, haven't you?
Yeah, I had that on my Triple X. It does fit. Well, just it skims the prop. You have to machine a little bit off.
Which we would show you, but you're not going to see on this.
No, but you can see it in there, can't you?
Yeah.
There you go. Little machining mark. Prop shaft mark, same thing. But yeah, you can fit it to that, and it does fit on.
You haven't mentioned your rear arms and knuckles, I don't think.
I've got the aluminium rear arms. And
they're the wide ones, aren't they? They're not the standard ones. They're the ones that come with the knuckles. The extended version.
That's true. So that means I'm actually 2 millimeters extended on each rear arm, and also I've got the inserts for the rear lower arms that are adjustable for damper position, which are very good, if not slightly excessive.
Yes. Yeah. It's a bit overkill.
It's a bit overdose.
Yeah.
There was something else I was going to mention then. Dampers. So my dampers currently, internally, they're all pretty much normal. I've got low drag O-rings in there. I've got 2 hole pistons at 0.8 millimeters per hole. And in the front, I'm running 10 weight oil, which, the 10 weight oil, that's
the
very slow movement.
It's the pistons, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And in the rear, I've got 2 hole pistons, same again, but I'm running a 20 weight oil. So you can see that the rebound on it is very slow and very kind of predictable and easy. And it's quite balanced front to rear in terms of how it compresses and recovers. The rear is slightly stiffer from springs and obviously because of the oil, and the front has got a bit more travel because obviously when you're on lock, you want to pitch in and lead onto this lead wheel, that lead wheel, like that way kind of thing. So they just allow a little more room from there. So that's kind of it really. That's my chassis. Ooh. Another one. Sol RC stainless steel screw set, which we technically don't have a set for, but
it's easy enough to make.
I bodgeramic one. I made it happen. So what are you running, Jay?
We're now running less blue. I've been talking to people on Facebook because apparently we were very blue initially. So really? I've changed some camera settings and we're now less blue.
Blue LED.
I am running a number of things. I'm running my RMX rear wheel drive at the moment. I actually still haven't put together my forward drive because I'm enjoying rear wheel drive quite a lot at the moment. So it's kind of rear wheel drive time for me. But I'm running the rmx-d VIP. I've done a lot of experimenting with the chassis. Hence the reason it's got black dampers on at the moment. But yeah, it's working very well. And actually, I was helping Matt Smith the other day at our place, and he's also running an rmx-d rear wheel drive, and it's kind of interesting. I drove his car and then drove mine, and realised that the settings I told him or helped him work through, along with Mark Bennett, are settings I should probably put on this because It's easier to drive than mine. This can be more aggressive, but it's a little bit too much most time. What the hell is that?
I'm not really sure. I just noticed it.
So anyway, I'm running the only upgrades really that I fitted to this are the fancy aluminium stuff.
So front arms, knuckles.
Well, I was going to say
knuckles.
I've got front and rear lower arms in aluminium. I've got front and rear knuckles, obviously KPI knuckles on the rear, on the front, and the HT knuckles on the rear. I'm also running a rear-wheel drive conversion, because this technically is a four-wheel drive chassis when I got it, because I couldn't wait for a silver two-wheel drive, because I'm impatient like that. So I've got a sharp drive rear conversion on this. It is actually purple, because again, I couldn't wait.
We have got a couple of purple bits. There's another one on the back there.
Yeah, and the other upgrade that I've got, the Mitto just mentioned, is the purple overdose Deval/Bacula adjustable toe strap, which, as we mentioned before, does fit, but does need a bit of shimming to sit perfectly high, at the perfect height to match the front toe strap. It's so far everything I've put on this has just been an improvement. Yeah, there's nothing I've put on. I thought, there wasn't much of an improvement there.
To be fair,
everything's been a big improvement.
I've not driven an RMX yet that I don't like. No.
They're
very likeable chassis. You start driving it and it just feels fun right away.
Yeah. I'm sort of in the process of experimenting with a few things on this. I've got some weights added to the lower arms, and I've got weights added up at the back. I'm also running wheel weights. Wheel weights.
Really?
Which I recommend the heavy wheel weights. The other weights are not really needed at all. I'm just sort of reaffirming my thoughts on those. I ran a lot of weight on my FXX when I had that, and I ended up taking most of it off again. I think it's the same deal with this, to be perfectly honest with you. Most of the weights will come off. But like I say, I'm sort of in the process of
ends up being kind of damper based.
Yeah, it's compensation. You add weight to make it do something, but you can make it do the same thing without any negatives. Otherwise,
with better tuning.
Generally, yeah.
So weights are kind of like the shortcut.
Yeah, definitely. They'll give you a certain feeling, but they also have negative impacts. So I'm also running a aluminium bumper brace along with the carbon brace stacked up, which is kind of something I like to do, which you might be able to see. There you go.
It's very show off.
I just like the look of it, to be honest. I like the carbon, and it just sort of ties in nicely. In terms of electrics, I'm also running a BF07S RCOMD full aluminium servo, this time full silver. Yeah. I'm also running the MST LSD 2.0 RS, so the remotely adjustable, which we've mentioned before.
Best gyro so far for me.
By miles. From what obviously I've not tried every single gyro that's out there, but all the mainstream ones I have, and significantly the best I've come across. I'm also running a BS dual motor as well from Acuvance and the Tachon area.
What turn motor?
That is currently a 10.5, although to be perfectly honest, that will probably be getting some tweaks soon. I'm going to change
because we've got these new cores, haven't we?
We've got the new rotors, so I'm going to be
around with those.
I'm torn between running a 13.5 and running a 10.5. I want to run a 13.5, but nobody else does. Everyone else runs 10.5s, and I don't want to ever be in a position where I'm being left behind, particularly the world's. So my plan is to run a 10.5 and fit a smaller diameter rotor, which will help it rev up faster and feel a bit more like a 13.5. Technically, it doesn't make it into a 13.5. I've been talking to Acuvance about the details this week, but it just gives you a bit more response, and that's what I want. It's the response and the speed of the revs. Effectively, it's like fitting a lightweight flywheel.
So basically, you can alter the size of the core of the rotor, the main, the core of the motor, which is the core is the rotor of the motor. So, I know where I'm going. So you can alter the size of that to reduce or increase its mass, which will either give you more torque
or more revs.
Torque making it more sedate because of the weight.
Yes, but torque will also make it. If you've got a particularly heavy chassis, the torque will work well.
So something like this, where it's a bit, because it's got so much aluminium, it's got a weight to it.
It could well improve. To be perfectly honest, it's one of those things. I'm kind of hoping to have one of every size, so I can tune between all my chassis and things like But I think I'm going to end up running a very small rotor to increase response. And I think for a rear wheel drive,
I'm very interested in making a motor do 100,000 RPM, just because we know it's possible.
I'm still scared to do it, considering the noise we can get out of these when they're hitting 45,000 RPM.
Yeah, I know. So, but it's one of those, you know, it's like it's there, it's possible. Let's see if we can do that.
Let's see if we can blow one up.
So I wonder how many.
I'm also running the Chevalier Boost capacitor because I haven't swapped mine over to the Master yet. I haven't actually driven this properly since they came in, to be perfectly honest. So I need to get my finger out and get that sorted. Obviously, as part of the rear wheel drive kit on this, you get a weight to replace your front diff.
Have you tried running with and without a weight?
Yes, I have. The weight helps. I'm actually also running a 30-gram weight in the front bumper.
Okay.
Just hidden underneath a bit of foam.
Okay. And you're running the rear ball diff there, I see.
Rear ball diff, yeah. Currently it's a bit loose. I think, to be honest, it works a bit better when it's tight.
Wow, that's super loose.
As I say, testing.
I thought mine was loose. Feel my balls.
I'm obviously also running a full stainless screw kit for this, and gearing wise, I'm running an 88 tooth spur with a 26 tooth pinion. That is rear wheel drive specific because the gearing is changed very dramatically when you convert these to rear wheel drive from 4-wheel drive. So you're running a 4-wheel drive. I think I was running 83, 35 or 36, which is. This does actually get a little bit warm with my current settings, but as I say, this is actually my ESCM motor for my 4-wheel drive chassis with the settings for that. So I kind of need to tweak it a bit.
Needs to happen.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a temporary thing, but because it works and works fine, it's just
it's become a permanent thing.
Yeah.
You've been running the brain as well, haven't you?
I have.
Chassis.
I have. Yeah, I've run the brain before plenty of times. The only reason it's not installed here is, as I say, it's supposed to be temporary. But I've just used the wire when I've had to tweak anything, which is fine. It's not the end of the world, but it's not as cool as using a brain unit for sure. Yeah, super happy with this. I'm also, I was going to say controversially, but I don't think it's controversial. I'm running CSRs all around.
It's controversial for Sol. Yeah. Like for our circuit, most of us run J's on the back and the CSRs on the front. I think that's a good idea, especially with the Worlds coming up.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those things where we're going to be on the DS
racing,
which are a rounded tyre, so it only makes sense to practice with a rounded tyre.
Well, to be honest, that's not why I'm doing it. It's a bonus, but the reason I'm doing it is more to get away from chasing speed. I actually, the bizarre thing is, sort of 2014 was a year of speed for RC drifting, I think, where everyone focused on not being slow.
That's basically anything prior 2014 backwards.
Yeah, I think it's got to a point now where everything is fast enough.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
And actually, the bizarre thing for me is when I drive a car with GA206s on now, it's so aggressive and so snappy, and it's really cool. But it can't do things that you can do with CSRs, which is not something I considered before. Before when we were, focused on speed. It was all about speed and big snap and big angle and huge aggression and getting the power down.
And now it's more about control and finesse.
Well, it was about finesse and control before, but it's so much more my focus now.
Zohan style.
I'd much rather run at half the speed.
You know what I mean, Zohan?
No.
Have you not seen that movie?
I think I have, but I don't know what you're talking about with Zohan style.
Adam Sandler, where he's that...
don't mess with as a hairdresser.
Yeah, don't mess with Zohan. And he wants to make everybody silky smooth. So you want to make everything silky smooth.
Okay.
So you're now the Zohan.
Fair enough.
Or the Broham.
With the beard.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that runs very differently with the GA206s, and there's definitely quite a bit of adapting required to change the way you drive. I
mean, to me, I'm so used to seeing negative camber. It looks like you have almost positive camber on it.
It's just not. I think it's fractionally negative.
But there was there a topic the other day about someone using positive camber?
Somebody asked us about that. I've used positive camber mostly by mistake in the past, and yeah, it's no good. It's no good for
It's not for me. But I'm a big fan of snapping quite harshly. And when you snap harshly, you get rollover on the chassis. And when you get that rollover, you want the tire to sit on all its contact patch, or even to hit the outer edge on the GA. So if you hit that outer edge on the GA, it tends to like bite up the chassis.
Well, it all depends on your settings, because sometimes it will make it just slip and spin.
Yeah,
it's got to be able to utilise that grip. In terms of lock on this chassis, I'm not running ridiculous lock. I'm not chasing lock. Show you that on. That's
four-wheel drive to our lock.
Yeah, so it's about the same. But that's enough for me. The guys that chase the 90-degree lock on rear-wheel drive, all they're actually doing is setting the car up to run slower.
It's like buying
well, I say it's not about speed. It's also not about going especially slowly. You know, if you're on full lock at 90 degrees doing this, you're running very slowly. Your car's don't look like that.
Well, they do when they, like we were saying, the wire swap thing where people.
Yeah, but that's firing in at the end of the straight once.
Yeah,
not
constant.
Well, not through
to be fair,
the equivalent of a.
To be fair, they are doing that now, where they're just sat on this crazy lock and just mashing the throttle, and it's kind of like, well, for me, that removes some of because it removes the inertia from the drift. It removes that sort of exciting on the edge dancing element. So I'm not a fan of that. I like the sharp snapping.
Sure. One thing that's worth mentioning, both of us are, as we've probably mentioned 1,000 times before, we both run Thunderpower 3800 shorties.
Yep.
Which they suit very well. In the RMX, there's a conversion kit, and basically it just sits towards the back of the chassis, and on yours you're running it horizontally.
Goes up in the middle.
Yeah. Trying to think what else I've changed on this. Oh, I have actually changed the rear gearing again on this to make it work slightly differently. I can't remember which setting I've gone to. I think it's.
As you can see, we are actually completely unprepared.
It might be a 40-13.
We're working
so actually, it might have been the rear-wheel drive, the four-wheel drive that I changed the setting for. I can't actually remember.
So 40-13.
I don't remember what's on that. To be perfectly honest, it's needs finishing.
But these are things that, I mean, that's kind of a sign of the times that it's like, oh well, what ratio things are at. It's kind of less important than what the car's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know exactly what's in my dampers, but I couldn't tell you how many teeth were on my rear diff because
I was having a.
I've not messed with it. It's like that's how.
Or if you have, it's been a while because you found what works for the track.
Kind of, but I've literally never changed the rear diff, and now my CS in the front is set. It's like, okay, well, let's make that work. The only time I've messed with it recently is when I stripped the gear. So now everything has become much more chassis focused and based. Incidentally, like I was saying, kind of the important thing for me is the damping at the moment. What are you running? What's in there?
In terms of dampers, my black damper set is actually the standard setup. So it is.
So it's 3 holes, 1 mil.
No, 1.2 mil.
1.2 standard.
Yeah, I think it's 1.2.
Okay.
It's a size we haven't used before. I know that much.
Front oil?
Front and rear exactly the same.
Okay.
300 weight oil all round. Same dampers, same pistons all round. Different springs. I'm running significantly softer at the rear on this to add with the roll movement, the roll movement. Not massively stiff springs on the front at all. They're still relatively soft. They're just firmer than the rear.
There's a lot of movement in there.
Although there is quite a bit of compression resistance on this.
On that.
Yeah, it's softer on roll.
So you've allowed it to roll for that sort of dynamic, realistic,
and to work well with the CSRs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That was the plan. It works pretty well, to be perfectly honest. There's a few things this needs tweaking, but it's things like bump steer tweaks.
So these are all kind of things that obviously we've got a competition this weekend.
Yep.
So these are all sort of things that we want to look for, because effectively we tune for what we want to see.
Yeah, I mean, and the very
make sure it's possible.
The very important thing that we have to always stress is it changes all of the time.
Yeah. It's a fluid thing. It's
styles evolve.
Yeah.
And it kind of works works differently all the time, and we can't tell you how you can win the last round of the year now, because we're going to look
might be
different
completely different,
at the end of the year.
But at the moment, the sort of dynamic role and the realism and the realistic counter is kind of where we're at. So as far as our competition goes, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for the cars to pitch in and look like they're doing something, look like they're fighting for grip while they're sliding.
There's certain things that don't really count towards points, but there's certain things that will just make it look cooler. Things like when you're on lock going through a bumpy part of the track, if your car's moving, it looks cool. It's not just for the judges, but it's cool to watch.
Yeah, it makes it look realistic. It makes it look like it's working.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know. I was out. I went drifting in my full-size car the other day. First time in a long while.
Wondered how long it take you to mention
that. It had to come out, but it's only because you're mentioning the bumps. And actually, I couldn't see it because I was in the car. But people were saying that the car was picking wheels up, which it's you don't really see that with RC. You don't see the car pick a wheel up, and it's like, well, actually, that would be pretty cool. I mean, even though, like, in full-size terms, that's wrong, and it's because my damper stroke's too short, but, it's one of those things, you don't see it in RC, but actually a real car, if you fling it in hard enough, I've had Sylvia's pick up a rear wheel, from the weight transfer, and it's like, wow, that's cool, so actually dialing that realism in and making it hop and skip a bit when it's going over bumps, it's kind of a fun thing to do, because it's actually fun to do when you're in the car.
Definitely.
So even though it's hopping a wheel, like for me, it's hopping, and it's when it comes down, it makes a noise like an airplane, like, like but it feels fun. It feels exciting. So that's kind of what what you want to translate into the RC side of it.
Yeah, I suppose we should probably move on and talk about the competition side of things this weekend.
We did try.
We have we've got the CS competition tomorrow. I got confused for a second there.
Jesus Christ, man. That was intense. Is it a rear control car competition?
I didn't want to say it wrong because I didn't want someone to see this and then end up travelling on the wrong day for a competition. So we've got the CS competition tomorrow. It's going to be fun. I think we've got some pretty cool drivers coming.
Yeah,
we've got some. I think the track that we're competing on, or they'll be competing on, it's super fun, and it's got potential to show off some really advanced stuff.
It is fun.
I think it's going to be fine for those that are a bit new, because we've got quite a few new guys coming as well. But for anyone who's got a bit more to demonstrate, there'll be opportunities on the track for them to do that as well. Things like the run onto the straight, you can take that so many different ways, and there's a couple of really cool ways of doing it, which not many people are running that well at the moment, or that frequently, I should say.
There's also opportunity, which is very interesting. But at least to me, other people might not give a shit. But actually, now that we've had the circuit out longer, we're having it out for longer periods of time, I feel that people's technique is improving.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're learning more about how to.
They're learning how to drive the track differently.
Yeah.
Rather than
so instead of just getting around it, it's like, oh well, I can take this line, that line, or the other line.
Yeah. And if I take this line, then it affects me over here, and if I'm falling behind, I'll run a bit wide here to catch up.
And for me as well, I'm running the track and going, wow, I was running that line before, but now I'm running this line, and I'm having more fun, and it's harder because I've had more time to kind of work my way into that line and learn. Oh, if I go this line, I can use this technique, and it looks this much better, or it's this much more fun, So now, the whole...
There's a huge amount of variation. There's a couple of places on the track where there's no variation online, really. I say no, there's very little variation online.
Yeah.
And there's other bits of track where you can take any line you want.
Yeah, there's multiples,
Obviously, for the competition, we will specify a line, but that'll be tomorrow, I think.
That will happen.
As I sort of mentioned to a couple of the newer guys this week that haven't competed before, we don't really decide the line until the day, or the competition line until the day, because it depends on the level of drivers. There's no point in us setting the hardest line out there if 70% of the drivers are relatively new,
Those times,
because it's just going to lead to disappointment. So we kind of wait and see how people are running on the day before we set the actual line.
We're trying this year to be less harsh with our judging.
Yeah. I was going to use a different word, but yeah.
What was it? Was it a swear word?
It was a swear word.
Yeah, there you go.
It was the bad swear word.
It did begin with.
It began with a C.
Oh God. So anyway, we're trying to be less of a bunch of mean people.
Yeah.
This year, basically just because we want the focus of the competition is just to be fun.
Yeah.
You know, it got quite serious towards the end of last year, so you know we don't want to get back down that road where it's people are desperately fighting to win. You know, we just want it to be fun and people to have a nice day out, really. So, you know, we've turning the judging off and we've turned the line off a little bit, but you know, the higher level of technique and skill is certainly still rewarded.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. So
it's also worth mentioning, just while it pops into my head, next week we'll obviously be changing the track on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Going to be closed on Wednesday, reopening on Thursday. Just switching effectively our Wednesday and Thursday days over because it gives us a bit more time to build the track and make it look a bit better. Plus, also on Thursday we've got a load of guys from Norway coming over, so it means we're going to open for
Vikings.
We're going to have a late night Thursday, so that they can drift it all into the evening.
Is Robaz coming? He's a Viking.
He's not a Viking.
He is.
He's a Viking, but he's not a Norwegian Viking. He's a Swedish Viking.
Yeah, but they're all the same. They're all Vikings. They're just Norsemen, aren't they? Men of the North.
Something like that.
I'm one of them. I've got a red beard.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
or you're a different kind.
What?
But, yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of it for us. We got some questions, I guess. I know we've had a few questions this week.
It's been a while since we've just waffled about our own chassis, really, isn't it? We do actually have them. We do use these things. We're not just two guys with a shop that sort of go, yeah, buy this stuff. We use these things.
I don't get to drive that much at the moment, but that's going to change with the run up to the Worlds for sure.
Practice time.
Yeah.
So
Ryan Royer has asked.
Ryan
said he's currently struggling to keep his car on counter to execute and extend a steady drift. It's currently trying to pull itself straight all the time. Is there anything you guys would suggest settings-wise to help me out? Front-rear balance is generally the setting thing.
And this, I'm doing this.
I'm not going to do that because I haven't seen Ryan's technique for a while, so I don't want to comment on that. But
the front spring response.
Well, there's actually a few things I generally recommend. Obviously, it depends on seeing how it's actually working and where you're struggling. And I'm guessing that's on a CS chassis rather than the rear-wheel drive chassis.
It is on a CS. What it is basically when you put it into a drift and you put the car on counter, when you put the trigger back in and you put the power back in, you've got to decide where the grip is going to come first, whether it's going to come from the rear or from the front. If the grip comes from the front too quickly, it'll pull out, and if the grip comes from the rear too quickly, oddly enough, it'll pull out. So you have to have it balanced so that the grip comes evenly between the leading wheel.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a couple of things I would check.
The driven wheel.
Other than that, but I also check your caster. Caster makes a huge difference for that sort of effect. It depends on which point during the corner that it's trying to pull itself out, really.
Yeah.
The other thing is rear toe as well. And it's more check it's not excessive. If you've got loads of toe in or you've got zero toe at all, then you probably find it will.
Everything is about balancing grip.
Yeah.
So.
And most importantly is front rear balance.
Yeah. But I'll see you tomorrow, Ryan. So if we'll both see you tomorrow. So if you need some help,
ask us in the morning.
Ask us in the morning before we start doing briefings.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Alex Barnacle. Can we put the BDC stream on later? Yes.
Sure.
Assuming we can get it. Then yes, we can. Mark has asked you a question. He's asked, what kind of preparation do you guys do before a competition round and then as a competitor and not an organizer judge? Preparation is, we have a bit of a discussion as to what we're looking for to make sure we're both on the same way. This is as a judge, obviously.
Is it before we do a competition?
Before we do a competition, and then as a competitor. There's two questions.
Okay.
Two elements of the question. So we kind of make sure we're on the same wavelength of what we're looking for, because obviously if he wants people to be super smooth and I want people to be super aggressive, then we're going to come up with different scores. So we get ourselves on the same wavelength. We make sure that we're happy with the line that we're setting and what we're asking of people. And anyway, that's about it. We've done enough competitions to know that
we don't have to
there's not
discuss how the judging works, because we kind of know.
Yeah.
I mean, we both agree on where the focus of the course is.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
And sort of as time's gone on, we've got a lot closer with our scoring. We were never miles apart, really.
No, we're always within 5 or 10 points.
Yeah.
At worst.
But we're a bit more aligned with that. There is obviously a disagreement sometime
when he's wrong,
when we've seen different things. Anyway, and then as a competitor, it's just practice, really.
I think as a competitor, the only thing you can do is have your chassis prepared in advance, have all your stuff ready,
maintenance,
have it all
that's the one
maintained,
thing I forgot.
and then have a good sleep. Make sure you've had a good kick and you're refreshed, and you wake up and you have a decent breakfast, and you're not working on stress.
Yeah.
If you're working stress, you work worse.
I have stripped and rebuilt both my chassis in preparation for the Worlds. I haven't finished rebuilding the purple one because I've got a couple of things I want to do with that. But with the amount that I drive at the moment, which isn't very much, I'm basically I prefer to go into a competition with a chassis that hasn't been freshly built the week before, because you might have a glitch with your electrics, you might have an issue. I'd rather
run it a bit, make sure it's
run it a bit, but not too much. Yeah. Make sure it's running well, and then it's good to go. That's how I'd rather do things. I actually there's a couple of tips and tricks I prefer to do as well. Actually, I prefer to use old bearings rather than new bearings because they're worn in.
They're a bit slacker.
Well, they're just more free. They're not packed full of.
That's the same word. Slacker, freer. Also, when you get new bearings and they heat up a bit, they sort of change characteristics.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's to do with the grease. Essentially, when you buy fresh bearings, they're packed with a grease that is a very expensive grease, especially from rmx-d, because I've looked into buying the same stuff. It's very expensive. But it's designed to stay in the bearing, and it's designed to last, in theory, the lifetime of the bearing. Yeah. It takes a while to coat every single surface because it's actually a thick bearing. It's not a thick grease. It's not an oil. So it takes a while to coat, which is why when I go into a competition or when I go to put my car on the track, you'll actually see me rev my car up, and that's just to get things warming up. Now, if you've cleaned your bearings out and you replace it with an oil, it's kind of fine, it's not a problem, but it's just a case of making sure that everything is running smoothly. And what you'll find is a newer bearing won't run as smoothly as a used bearing generally, to a point, and then the bearing is too worn and needs to be replaced.
So you sort of want them a third into their lifespan?
Probably less than that, probably 10-15%, I would say. Okay. But just not brand new.
I was on thirds and you 1%, but same thing. Next question.
I don't know. It's a weird question, but I'll say no. Taj.
What are you on there?
He said, can you believe he's not driven his MST since February? No, you're doing it wrong.
I can't believe it's not butter. Hurry up and drive, Taj.
Yeah, watching.
Who are you on there?
Is that a new job? He shouldn't really be watching.
Taj now lives in Eindhoven, I believe, which is closer to the Drift Arena in Holland, so you have no excuses. And also, he's not that far from Drift Arena in Germany, so he has even less excuses. You have circuits. Stop your moaning, Taj.
Comments. Or questions even. There's a couple of questions I've actually answered on YouTube this week, but I will actually go over them. One question was, will Acuvance make the Tau 2 backwards compatible for the original Tashion non-area ESCs? The answer is no, because there's a lot of development work. There is actually, I can't remember exactly what it was, but I was told about hardware limitation with that particular ESC.
You mean prior to Tashion areas?
Yes, the original Tashion.
No, it's just...
it's an older device. It's not been for sale for quite some time now. They're not gonna. It's double the development. It's double the support.
And there's hardly anyone running at this point.
Yes. It's not,
Sorry.
it's not something I see happening, to be perfectly honest. I've got to find where this video was asked because somebody asked a video on something else serious on that one.
Somebody asked a video on something else.
So I'm just trying to find
a question on another video.
Yeah, I know. There we go. Lots and lots of questions. Come on. It's quite annoying because it's quite an important question, but I can't find it because this version of YouTube is being rubbish.
Do we have book face questions?
There we go, found it. Okay, so David Jennings has asked,
Hi David.
He said he's thinking about getting a CS conversion kit for his FXX VRP. Any comments? If you want to run four-wheel drive, it's kind of essential. And it's they're good kits. They're quite complicated, but actually you can fit 90% of it and leave it on the chassis when you're running rear-wheel drive and just swap your drive shafts over and a couple of little bits, and it's just fine. They work really well, actually.
I thought yours was quite good.
Yeah, I was surprised at how good it was by just putting the kit on.
Yeah.
Which was pretty good.
But, you know, I haven't run one personally, but Jay has. So.
Yeah, I quite liked it. There's not many people run them, and I don't really understand why, to be perfectly honest. I know they're not the cheapest things to buy, but
I suppose if you're on four-wheel drive, it's a bit of an odd way of going about it.
Yeah, I think I suppose there's not many people that buy a rear-wheel drive chassis to go to four-wheel drive, but there's a lot of people that buy a four-wheel drive chassis to go to rear-wheel drive. I personally would rather have the option
of both.
Yeah, I think the key with RC drifting is, well, the most fun thing is drifting with your friends. So if your friends are running rear-wheel drive, that's wicked. But if you go somewhere and nobody's running rear-wheel drive, you're better to run a four-wheel drive chassis and have fun with them, I think, than be the only guy running rear-wheel drive on your own.
It's getting a bit bored and frustrated.
Yeah, it's more fun if you're drifting with somebody else. So I'd always have the option. Hence the reason I have two RMXs, just so I've got one of each.
Indeedly.
He's also said he's seen the new slide rack available for the FXX, and will it clash with the CS conversion kit we installed? I don't believe so. Obviously, I haven't had a slide rack in my hands to test yet because they're still prototyping it. I can't see why it'd be an issue. Essentially, it'll be smaller in terms of how much space it occupies than the current bell cranks. So I can't see it being a problem, but I'm not going to promise because I haven't actually fitted one yet. Yeah, and that's basically it. Facebook, we're kind of through the questions, I think, already. We had lots of comments about it being a bit blue, so you may notice if you're watching the repeat. Change some settings that apparently have sorted that, hopefully.
Who's more blue? Me or you?
Probably me. Although you're more see-through.
More see-through?
With your white skin.
Like a ghoul?
Yeah.
I don't want to be a ghoul.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it. This is why we need to ask questions on Facebook, because it makes it easier to find them. We get them either on Facebook or on YouTube. YouTube is fine, but we kind of need to decide where we want people to ask questions.
It's just going to be both, because it's at the viewer's convenience.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's because I should be more prepared, and I'm not.
I've got to be honest, it feels weird doing waffle time here.
It does.
There's no chocolates. There might be. You've probably got them hidden. There's no chocolate. Crisps. Drinks. There's Vimto. I feel a bit neglected.
There's a beer in the fridge.
I can't have a sneaky dairy milk under the thing. Oh, I've got to pick that up. Yeah. There's none of that.
None of that. But yeah, we're still working on this. So hopefully next week we'll have probably a slightly better location, hopefully. We had planned to use a spare space that I have in my flat, and unfortunately the light and sound in there wasn't very good.
I think we should do awful time. It's basically just a tour around your flat, like cribs. Like cribs. You can be at your front door and be like, "Yo, this is my thing."
Show off my Lego.
Have you got is that a Lego?
Yeah.
He's got a Lego Volkswagen Transporter.
And Mini.
It's a splitty as well, and a mini.
Yep.
And what's that other thing? Is that Meccano?
No, that's all Lego. Basically, my girlfriend has a couple of kids, and I buy lots of cool Lego stuff to entertain them, but usually end up building it myself.
Is that like a Roman temple?
That's a Japanese hotel. It's the Grand Imperial Hotel.
God damn. It looks Roman.
It's a very famous building.
Where is it?
In Japan.
Duh.
I believe it's no longer there. It's been demolished.
Well, that has.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yep.
It was probably made of wood.
No. It was destroyed by an earthquake, I think. But anyway, we're waffling about Lego now, which is not what this is about.
So anyway, Jay has Meccano and Lego and like stuff to play with, like video game cars and books. And what's your thing called? A spuddy.
Yeah.
He has a spuddy.
I have a gift from somebody.
So yeah, very random. And a massive Nerf gun.
Yeah.
I actually want your Nerf gun.
It's quite good. It's like I say, when my girlfriend's kids are here.
You can.
Hence we
Oh, you little bastard!
I also have little targets to shoot down, little action figures they brought with them.
That's pretty good.
So you can put them up on our shelves and shoot them down.
And Jay's Electric's windows are electric. Jay's Electrics are windows. Jay's windows are electric. They work on a remote. I've never seen this before in my life.
It's quite
He
common.
pushes a button and just leisurely, do it themselves.
It's quite common.
You live in luxury, man. I need to get more wages. Jay's taking all of the wages.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Yeah. But anyway, that was Waffle Time.
Yeah.
Bit disjointed this week because we're in a new place.
We're a bit thrown out, but the winner will very shortly have a message from us. We couldn't do it from the app, so I'm going to have to do it as soon as we get off the screen. We'll do a full random selection of a winner, and we'll send them a message and give them 48 hours to get back to us. And if they don't, we'll pick another winner.
Yeah, another winner.
Yeah,
and there can be many winners.
We will announce all the winners properly next week,
yeah.
And probably on Facebook at some point.
And we'll also do the competition this weekend to give even more stuff away.
Yes, including some dog tags.
Oh yeah, we've got our fancy dog tags.
Yeah, so we'll be getting. Well, there's still places I think for both competitions available. I know there's a load of the local guys still yet to book in, but
they are filling up.
Yes, they are starting to fill up, particularly the CS class on Saturday.
Yeah.
As usual, we'll be open after the competition on Saturday evening as well, but tickets won't be available until after the competition because we don't know how many people will be staying. Exactly. After we finish.
Until then, like and favourite this shit.
Yeah.
Become a Viking today.
Something like that.
And that's it. We'll see you later. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next week.
And hopefully Waffle Time next week will be slightly more
organised.
grain based.
Yes. Something like that.
Sausages.